Hi everyone. So this week in sociology class, our professor gave us a prompt to discuss the US and Mexico borders using a functionalist perspective. So to first give you a little bit of background and understanding, a functionalist perspective basically sees society as a really complex system that needs all of its little pieces working together to keep order and stability. So sort of like a clock or just a big machine that needs every little nut and bolt and piece in order to keep running the right way. So the first question was basically, why does the border exist? So the purpose of the borders, or to create stability in Mexico and the United States. That's a really broad answer, of course. But of course, it's to control who's going in and out, control trade, labor coming in and out, things like that. So the manifest function, or the intended purpose and effect of the wall, is national security, to prevent unauthorized people from going in or out, control immigration to where either place isn't getting an overflow of people, and to prevent drug trafficking. And the economic regulation would be that it manages trade, of course, like any goods coming in and out, and it monitors and sort of limits the labor market also. So these countries depend on the border to, again, control immigration. They don't want an excess of people coming in, an excess of people going out, or people who aren't legal to be going one way or the other. And another thing that honestly had never really occurred to me before was, it separates two different nations. So where one law stops in one nation and another law starts in another nation, there's a clear divide of who rules which part, basically. Excuse me, y'all, I'm looking at my notes. So the people who directly are benefiting from the wall and are getting, direct benefits from it would be, of course, each government, Mexico and the United States. Both are getting national security from this. They're able to monitor and prevent and control a lot of things with the border. And especially the immigration control. They're preventing certain people from coming in and out. Other people who are benefiting from this are multiple types of companies. Security companies that provide cameras and security guards and things like that. Construction workers, construction companies that are providing the workers and the labor, and also building material companies that are providing the materials for it to be built. So a lot of people are benefiting from it. And then the people that are indirectly benefiting from it are smugglers. So by making it more difficult to cross of the border, of course, these smugglers are getting more business by people going to them in order to smuggle items or even people across the border. So they're getting business, even though that wasn't really the obviously intended purpose of it. Politicians benefit from it because they are able to use the topic of the border for campaigning purposes. So whether it's against or for the border, they're able to use this in their campaigning and basically get people on their side for whichever way they feel about it. Other people who who benefit from it indirectly are U.S. workers, because, let's say construction workers in the United States, or really any profession where people from Mexico aren't able to come into the United States. There's more job opportunities for people who are already here. that aren't going to the people who are coming from Mexico. So the results of the borders can be looked at two different ways. So with the latent function, which is the unintended but beneficial results of it, would be that it provides business for construction companies, security companies, surveillance companies, building material companies, all the ones that we had just listed a second ago, which are not necessarily the purpose of the wall, of course, but is a benefit and it's a positive. Or it can be looked at with the social dysfunction, which is the unintended and negative side effects or results, which are also sort of what we had just talked about a second ago. Those would include things like family separation. Of course, it's not the goal of the border. That's not what it was designed for, but that is sort of the result of what's happening, where families are trying to cross and people are being left behind. It can be dangerous for families to cross, so that's another result. People are getting hurt or possibly even killed trying to cross it. Another result would be jobs in the United States that relied on migrant workers, like farming and construction, just to name two off the top of my head. Those jobs in the United States that relied on those workers coming from Mexico would now be struggling to find other workers because now their people aren't coming from across the border. And of course, I feel like the most obvious and the biggest result, which would, of course, not be the function, what it was designed for, but it is the negative result of the wall, is that it creates a lot of tension between people on either side of the border. So people in Mexico and people in the United States have a lot of tension and built up anger, basically, with either side because they want to go here, they want to go there, and it just creates tension and issues between either side. So if you're looking at the border from from other perspectives, then it's easy to see it as a bad thing and that it does separate families and things like that. But if you're looking at it from a functionalist perspective, at least for myself, I do see the border and the fences as necessary structures to maintain order. They function to keep society organized and create stability. So where it may not be our favorite thing and it may not be great for families and people in Mexico, it does serve its purpose, which is regulating migration and trade and drug trafficking and things like that. So by looking at it with a functionalist perspective, we can appreciate it for what it is. Thank you.